Good morning, Americans! This is your favorite alien here on the morning of Saturday, October 14th, 2023. Sitting in for Paul Harvey this morning. Stand by for the rest of the story. Well, today's story is an interesting one. I'll change the title a little bit from Mr. Harvey and say, "Are you joshing me? Believe it or not." This is a story Mr. Harvey did, back in 1983, I would assume, because he said 100 years, so it's got to be 1983. And it's about a young man named Josh Tatum. And when Mr. Harvey started his story, he said, quote, 1983 would turn out to be Josh Tatum's best year. Okay. Or 1883, pardon me. 1883. So, as we start, we got Josh Tatum in Oklahoma. Well, he goes about town and somehow or another finds this coin. He looks at it. It's an interesting coin. It's a big coin. He looks at it closely, and it's got a Liberty head on the front and a big Roman numeral 5 in the back. So, and he was kind of noting that the U.S. Mint said that they were bringing up a new 5-cent piece coin in 1883, so he assumed that was a 5-cent piece coin. So he put it in his pocket. Then he went around his duties, and he went over there and ordered a 5 cents of candy, please, at the store. And the local store clerk gave him 5 cents worth of candy. He put his big, brand new coin, and the storekeeper looked at it. Next thing you know, Josh is not saying a thing, but he's getting $4.95 back with the candy. So, yeah, oh, well, goes around this, and he's looking at that like $4.95. Should I go back? It doesn't say. Mr. Harvey didn't say whether Josh was thinking, should I go back there and give him that and tell him that was only a 5-cent piece, sir? Well, we never know about this. According to Mr. Harvey, he just kept on going on his business. And, he finds another 5-cent piece. This time he goes to his friend the jeweler and says, "Oh, can you gold plate this?" "Oh, sure. I'll come back later on today and I'll have it done for you." In 1883, there was no laws against defacing currency. Okay, so, yeah. And the laws against counterfeiting were kind of vague. They only had the one that was put in by Congress in 1877, and it was so vague you had to read the law to understand it. Well, because the Department of Treasury guy, secretary, and the U.S. Mint, they got, we're going to do a new 1883 nickel with an Indian head on top, just like the $5 gold piece. And we'll put the Roman numeral 5 on the back. But they forgot to put the 5-cent denomination on the coin. Well, so Josh went over there. He got his 5-center, went over there to another store, did the same thing. $4.95. Yeah, okay. And this is the interesting part of the story. Both me and Mr. Brad Dyson, who also likes Mr. Paul Harvey, had questions when I was reading this, and I was a 12-year-old kid when I heard the story. And I said, wait. How can a kid like Josh in his status, because the way Mr. Harvey was talking, he was low on the totem pole, get a hold of so many of these coins? Because eventually he got 5,000. Wow, that's a lot of coins to get, and he had them all gold-plated. Well, the story goes on that eventually a storekeeper was wise and looked at that and got Josh, and he got him arrested on counterfeiting. Yeah. And they took him to trial. He got his lawyer. Doesn't say how much Josh got from all this goodies. But it must have been, at $4.95 a pop. I mean, in 1883, that was a lot of money, Woohoo! He must have got a lot of it because he had 5,000 coins. Mm-hmm. And they took him to trial. The attorney had a case, and his attorney didn't present a single witness for their judge. He says, well, I'll do my case as soon as that, and I don't need a single witness. So the judge said it was kind of unusual, but anyway, they did it. And after the prosecutor finished his case, the defense attorney called every one of those witnesses back for the prosecution. And all he asked them was a couple of questions. One, did Josh ever request change? Why, no. And did you look at the coin? Well, yeah, it looked like a $5 gold piece. Okay. Yeah. And you gave him $4.95 back. But you didn't look closely at the coin. No, sir, I didn't. Did Josh ever said he had a $5 gold piece? No, he just gave me the coin as a tender. And I said, oh, okay. Did you tell Josh anything? Well, I just gave him the coin back and said, good day. Well, after the last of the witnesses of the prosecution, the defense attorney asked him this. The jury went to deliberate. 5 minutes later, they came back and said, we find the defendant, Judge Tatum, not guilty. And, well, Tatum went on, did his thing. Nobody ever heard from him again. And according to Mr. Harvey, okay, here is the interesting part that brings in Mr. Ripley and the story. Josh Tatum was deaf and mute. Yeah, deaf and mute. Okay, 1883. Well, when I did some preliminary investigation, I didn't do very much from 10 years, 12 to 22. When I was 22 years old, I sent a letter to Mr. Paul Harvey in Chicago. And I said, Dear Mr. Harvey, remember the story that you did way back? And you did the story in the 1970s about the 1883 and Josh Tatum and the 5-cent Indian Liberty Head nickel. And then I went, well, that I did some preliminary research and I could not find a Tatum anywhere in Oklahoma. I ended up with one, but that was 1887, and he was arrested for currency, and he paid restitution, and that was the end of that case. But that's the only Josh Tatum that I know of. And in that story, when you were closing it and saying the rest of the story, and that you got the expression, are you joshing me? Yeah. He said, well, I understand your story there, but in my letter I put down that he should have put, believe it or not. Because that was not only a Paul Harvey story, that would actually turned out to be a Paul Harvey / Ripley's Believe It or Not, because Ripley always put stories like that out there, and they were always the same way as the story here. Mr. Harvey, on the other hand, researched it to the nth degree, and most of his stories are 99.9% true. And this is one that he even admitted it when he was doing the story, okay? And that's what gave me more emphasis to read the story and to listen to the story as much as I could, because the way he said it, and he emphasized, and like he said, the accounts went on about Josh Tatum in 1883. It wasn't published until a newspaper published it in 1958. Wow. Fun, huh? And Mr. Dyson is making reference of this when he reposted the story for Mr. Harvey on Josh. Mr. Harvey called it Josh. And that's why I would have called it, Are You Joshing Me? Or the rest of the stories, Believe It or Not. And now, Americans, you know from both Mr. Harvey, me, and Mr. Brad Dyson, the rest of the story. Sitting in for Paul Harvey, and with kudos to Mr. Brad Dyson, this is your favorite alien. Good day.